Hello, beautiful people. How's it going? I am jumping on here, winging it, because I had some different interesting thoughts today regarding starting my next essay that I am working on for submission to some contests. I should be, so this is July. I just finished and posted my shorts, my relationship tips shorts, and I was actually going to try to see really if people are interested in that. They want to look at any of that kind of, that subject matter there. And I was deciding on whether I'm going to post the full video, which I think I am going to go ahead and do it because there's a lot of really good useful information in there, I think, that I would like to share. Hopefully it helps, again, some of you. So what I wanted to talk about right now, what I find is interesting is so basically creative nonfiction essay. My style is it's like a blend of journalistic with creative stuff. So basically I'm trying to design this, with this like template idea, and it was making me think, what do I want to share with people? Because it's all related to personal empowerment. That's so much what I talk about, and describing my teenage years and really looking back at that as being an outcast. I looked up the description of it and it said cast out or rejected by society. And it doesn't necessarily have to be being bullied every day. It can just people like being mean, or maybe it's not their intention and being malicious, but they say some fucked up shit. And I'm not saying that I've never said anything that might be hurtful to somebody, but it is not my intention. But I have definitely never made fun of people for being different, or anything like that to that level. I've always thought it was terrible in culture, as far as special needs, handicaps, the elderly, all of that kind of stuff. Those things, that do disgust me, just like perpetuating, drama and gossip. So I've always been like that, but like I said, maybe I have said something that hurt somebody's feelings, but I wouldn't even know unless they told me. And if I catch anything now, or if I even sound like a bitch, I'm like, I hope, I like will say something like, I hope that didn't sound like a bitch face or dick comment or whatever it is, because I'm just so conscious of myself, But sometimes stuff just comes out. This is why we're not all perfect, right, people? So, looking up the whole outcast definition, even though I knew what it was, it's kind of fun to just look up exactly like what Wikipedia says. And it just made me think, like, whether I did it to myself or not by, doing it to myself, meaning outcasting myself or making myself a black sheep, it was a result of my interests, right? My music interests, my fashion interests. And growing up in such a small town, you'd think that I'd hate going back to the country or being all around all that sort of, really it is closed-mindedness even 20 years ago. But, there's lots of places like that now still. But the outcast, feeling like that, and black sheep, while at the same time too, not to say you pride yourself on it, but I liked what I liked, and my music and all of that sort of help. I look at it as like helped me survive that time period. And so it wasn't necessarily, I would even call it bullying, but just the damn comments and the fact that I had no social skills. I look at it as that because I was shy. Not knowing how to deal with it, not knowing how to manage it, not knowing how to brush it off. I didn't have that confidence to just brush it off or say fuck you, or just stop. Like, just the fact that I listened to it, it became programmed in my mind. And that's probably why I learned to believe certain things people would say, like a growing up friend who apologized at as an adult. I really never took him seriously because he was like a class clown or whatever, make funny, telling me, that I needed to wax or, my lip hair and being skinny and being flat chested and all this sort of stuff. And it's kind of like, why, if we don't believe it, why would we listen to it? Right. So obviously there was a sense of truth in it. And then remembering too, like and then there's also like the dumbness, right? Of just like, I looked at who would make the comments and then I would know better, right? And I would just laugh at it. And it was a lot easier for me to brush things off. Just like, it was like the lady, family friend, Filipino lady who used to cut my hair. And she'd be like, you're never going to get a boyfriend if you wear black all the time, right? Like, that's just like so dumb to me, like to even think like that and comment like that. And again, as if like your inside character means nothing. Black is still my favorite color. And getting people, pretty much, like I said, for liking things different things, wearing certain things, people would just be mean, whether they're even, school wise. People I grew up with that knew me, they never really seemed to care after a while because they realized, hey, that's just them, those two chicks. And but there were like right into high school, like they were the rednecks that would slam us into our lockers, and males larger than us. And then, people just saying, oh, you'll grow out of it. It's like, this is the part you don't get it, pop culture. Like, this is my heart. This is who I am, standing up for myself. This isn't just a fashion thing. Like, there's actually a philosophy behind it, and that's what people don't understand. I still think that they laugh. They laugh at the whole thing when they hear the word punk rock, because it's almost like, this dirty, rebellious type of person, and that's all they see it for. And there are people too that listen to that music that don't take it so seriously, but there's a lot of philosophy and or political. If you all go look up bands like Minor Threat, it's funny because Ian actually, he doesn't think that he started a movement, but he started something just out of that time period of hippiness. Everybody was just about being, hippied out, and he wasn't. And not only hippied out, I'm sorry, drinking and just all of that. So, the fact that he wasn't doing that and living that lifestyle, he was just singing about it. I think he's embarrassed about some of the songs he made, but that whole scene, right? So you can go learn about that if you want to, right? There's the UK punk rock like Sex Pistols, there's East Coast, there's West Coast, Southern California, and it's still going on to this day. I'm sure it's probably still like pretty prevalent in some areas, but I don't follow it anymore. But just as a philosophy of living and mindset for living and mastering life, it's very similar in alignment with Buddhism. You can take and pick and choose for what you want to believe, but this episode could actually go on to many different areas. But basically, I think overall what I wanted to say, to make this just a little bit shorter than what I normally do, is that these different essays that I'm getting into, I think I may be making them a little bit harder than they need to be, but I think it's really good for my audience, anybody. I might actually read some of them on here to actually understand the way that I was thinking before, because I've talked about this before, but not everybody has listened to my videos from like the very beginning of even like who I was before self-defense, who I was growing up. A lot of people don't hear or know about that part of me, and they only see me as I am now. It's kind of like a lot of those stories you hear about like singers and dancers and stuff, like how long it took them or how hard they had to work to get to where, that they are. When they see them, if you consider that, whatever it is, successful or whatever it is, or confident, right? We'll just use the word confident. And So, as far as working on myself, I don't even know to say, I guess I would say I've put in a lot of work um, by reading and trying, like, understanding people. The more I understood people, I feel like human behavior and things like that, as much as it intrigued me, it was teaching me about myself. Because as much as I wanted to learn why other people were doing things, like it explained maybe why I was doing something. And then learning later on, how we're all mirror images of each other, that's definitely something that'll wake you up when you realize that. Like, hey, like, am I doing that? Um, and I haven't really been able to clearly explain this example, but the whole, like, if you don't like somebody, it's something you don't like about yourself. Like, I haven't been able to find the words to describe that yet, but it kind of makes sense, I guess. Or I guess I can see how it would make sense, but I don't know how to bring it back. That is one thing I haven't like journaled on or talked to anybody about because it sounds confusing. I just want to explain it out loud. So I think that's about all for this today, and I'm going to get this up, just kind of things on my mind, and that I will be posting that full relationship episode that it goes pretty deep in there. And I give a couple of personal stories, and I don't know, I think it's pretty good. So it's worth the 36 minutes or whatever it is. You can always stop and come back to it. Okay, so I will talk to you all soon. Thanks for listening. Don't forget, I always put in my notes that my show is on Spotify and Pandora. They're the exact same shows, those are just audio only. And there's a lot of good stuff on there. And Ian of Minor Threat is on there, and also his best friend Henry Rollins. So we talk about, pioneers of punk rock and just kind of like it explains more while we don't go like we do talk about Ian and I talk about straight edge stuff, and Henry and I talk about finding his inner authority, but just basically standing as we are, as if you want to say, like, standing as an outcast. Like, I don't feel bad at all about who I was, who I've become. I just think as an adult now, it's kind of interesting to integrate everything, but like, that's still the roots of who I am, and that still keeps me strengthened. So I am forever grateful and thankful, and so much to share, just basically of what I've learned, of like what, like that essay, like it's about like what would I do back then had I just known these things, because I think I spent so many years, I mean, it is a depressive state. Like, who wants to be constantly rejected and like feel like there's something wrong with you because of like what you like or what you're wearing, or my mom saying like, why do you want to look like a boy, why don't you want to be pretty, like it's so, and my grandmother saying, when are you going to gain weight, like it's so repetitive. It's like a brainwashing, like, and then me, the not feeling white enough. So it's like a combination of so many different things, um, that, I guess we would say, right, was painful. But maybe I just didn't look at it as pain. I mean, yeah, it gave me information. I've always looked at it as information, but I mean, it was like scarring. I do feel like scarring and wounding, and made me live my life, or has made me live my life as an adult, um, in that constant, like, subconscious state of like fear of rejection and whatever else I'm sure that I could cry about. Okay, that's it. I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.